Are you struggling to come up with original content week in and week out? Start a podcast. Interview your ideal clients, let them talk about what they care about most, and never run out of content ideas again. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com.
You're listening to the B2B Growth Show, a podcast dedicated to helping B2B executives achieve explosive growth. Whether you're looking for techniques and strategies or tools and resources, you've come to the right place. I'm James Carberry.
And I'm Jonathan Green.
Let's get into the show.
Welcome back to the B2B Growth Show. This episode is sponsored by Directive Consulting, the B2B search marketing agency. Today we are joined by Steve Weiss. Steve is the founder and CEO of MuteSix. He is also the host of the Spend 10K a Day podcast. Steve, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me, Jonathan.
It's a pleasure to have a fellow podcaster on the show. You're a professional, you know what's going on, and we're going to be talking. We're going to retouch on this podcast that you do, the Spend 10K a Day podcast. But today's topic, what we're going to be talking about, is Facebook paid ads. Obviously, this is something that people are familiar with, but you're going to be here to sort of provide a deeper level of expertise. So I'm excited to dive into today's topic. But before we get into that, Steve, maybe you can tell us a little about what you and your team at MuteSix are up to these days.
Cool, totally. So I started MuteSix about 4.5 years ago. We felt there was a huge gap in the market when it came to e-commerce brands and also B2B brands understanding how to drive new user acquisition on paid social. So initially we started off as an agency that helped companies grow on social, specifically performance acquisition, spending $1 to make $3 to make $4. And then we got into the content side, which I'm really fascinated with. Being a former stand-up comedian, I moved to LA actually to be a comedian. And so my passion in life is creative. So we built a whole video studio here at MuteSix. So overall, we're kind of we bridge the gap between, the performance, very right brain performance marketing and left brain creativity. So we bridge the gap between direct response and obviously building really amazing creative that gravitates users on the newsfeed.
Wow, that's fantastic. I had no idea about the stand-up comedy thing. So that's wonderful. I have a few friends in LA who are on the comedy scene themselves. So we'll have to talk about that after today's episode. Thank you for that little overview of MuteSix. Sounds like you guys are up to some very cool things. Let's start then. Again, we're talking about Facebook paid ads. You're the expert, and you had mentioned this idea of content. That was one of the two main points we're going to be talking about today. So, what do you mean when we're talking about content?
So when I mean, whether you're marketing, a business to another business, whether you're marketing a product to an e-commerce to a possible consumer, people recognize in this day and age what an ad is. They look at something on the news feed and they automatically see, wow, holy shit, that's an ad. I am not going to click on that ad. I'm not going to engage with that ad because it's generic and people hate ads. I think the reality is that if you ask any consumer on the street corner, do you like ads?
Yeah.
They're like, no, I hate ads. Do you like garbage? No, I don't like garbage, So the key is to be really successful at digital marketing or, Facebook ads or whatever platform is to make your ads not look like ads. And the way you do that is to think very sensitively about the content and how consumers are consuming content and creating something that's both interesting, that solves a solution, that'll stop someone from scrolling the news feed. And I think that all goes back to marketing. And I think that we're in a day and age where there's very little barrier to entry to really competing against, the big heavyweights of the world, because everyone buys media on Facebook. And if you have great content, you have a great story, and you have a solution to a problem that a lot of people have, the reality is you'll be successful on the platform. So I always encourage, everyone I talk to on my podcast, as well as any podcast that I'm on, is to really, really invest in building great content, building a great message, and building a great brand.
Yeah. So two things. I mean, number one, you had mentioned having the solution, so before I get into that, do you have an example, something that maybe that you've done or something that you've seen kind of speaks to what you're talking about here, where you have an ad, but it doesn't feel or look like an ad?
Yeah, totally. So number one, most businesses have testimonials. or most successful companies, whether you're a B2B company or whether you're a B2C company, you have testimonials, you have companies and that really, or you have companies you work with that really, love your service and really will vouch for you. And one of the ads that we do on Facebook that we do a lot of ads for our agency on Facebook. So one of our best producing ads is a cut up of a video testimonial talking about the experience of working with the MuteSix team. And, most companies will run an ad saying, hey, get a free this or get a free that or get a free audit or get a free what's it called? Whereas we're more thinking about how do we sell the experience? How do we sell the bigger picture of a feeling of working with our team? So one of our biggest ads that works really well is a cut up of a testimonial that of a video testimonial that we have. And we've cut that up in a very unique way. And that converts really, really well. So we're always thinking about how to sell an experience, not how to sell a product. Products are one-offs. When you sell an experience, people are going to come back for more. We always want to build a great experience for whatever product we sell.
Great. I love that. How to sell an experience. And the other thing that you had mentioned is the solution. And we just before we kind of started recording, you were talking about having one solid solution. So what do you mean by that?
So I think that a lot of people, a lot of companies, they want to sell a lot of different solutions to their products, and they don't really understand what's the core problem that you're solving for a lot of people. And I think one thing that we're really focused on, both our mission statement as well as when we think about MuteSix as a brand, is that we want to solve one specific solution. We want to come in and really provide a solution set to a problem that you're having, whether it's mainly Facebook advertising, but we've kind of cornered this one solution. Our goal is we want to help companies scale profitably and grow their business. That's the one solution we provide. Obviously, there's channels that we help scale, but our one solution that we provide is that companies want to grow. They want to grow rapidly. They want to grow intelligently. They want to grow thoughtfully. And we want to be the one-stop solution for their growth. And that's the one very specific problem that we solve. And I think a lot of other brands should, whether you're a B2B brand, find that one specific solution that you're solving and the one pain point that you're solving for customers and really build content around that pain.
All right, today's growth story is Aegis Software, a company that makes software for manufacturing operations. They were one of the first companies in their space to invest in search marketing, but as competition grew, their performance plateaued. To counter this, they hired Directive Consulting, the B2B search marketing agency. With unparalleled experience in inbound lead gen for B2B companies, Directive was able to increase Aegis's monthly online leads by 457%, while at the same time lowering their cost per lead by 147%. Now I have a hunch that Directive can get these kind of results for you too, so head over to directiveconsulting.com and request a totally free custom proposal. That's directiveconsulting.com. All right, let's get back to this interview.
Okay, so that's the content aspect of today's topic, Facebook paid ads. The second big part that we're going to be talking about right now is that Facebook is changing. Obviously, it's changing, but you also have to be willing to change along with it. You have to stay on top of it. What's the best piece of advice or pieces of advice then that you have for our listeners when you say that Facebook is changing?
So, obviously, everyone's heard about the privacy issues that Facebook and some of these other platforms have been dealing with. And I think these privacy issues have a big impact on a lot of companies, a lot of their business models. I think the awareness, you have to be aware of what's going on in society and what, these tech platforms change and evolve at such a rapid rate. And I know it's affected our business, not really in a negative way, but it's definitely had an impact on our business. So when I say changing, I mean evolution in a positive way. So obviously, how does changes in Facebook's privacy policy affect the big picture of our business? It really does. It forces us to really think positively about the consumer experience. And I think a lot of companies are very growth hacky. I'm sure you've listened to other B2B podcasts where there's a deep level of encouragement to be very growth hacky. Mm-hmm. And I think growth hacks that work right now might not work in the future on Facebook and LinkedIn or whatever platform you're using. So I always say build sustainable channels for growth. sustainable. And I really encourage that like what might work today might not work tomorrow. And that when I brought up that topic, John, I really wanted to really hammer in the importance of really understanding sustainable growth versus growth hacking. And I think that's a very important topic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so when you are developing these sustainable channels, I mean, as it relates to Facebook paid ads, I mean, do you have some piece of advice for our listeners, like things that they can be thinking about critically and taking back to their company sort of today or, over the next month or year or whatever it is?
As far as advice, I would say the customer journey, understanding your customer journey and building upon it. How do you season a customer into, when I say season them with pieces of content so that when you actually talk to them, that they're actually ready to make a purchase or ready to make a decision. I think that, what you're going to see is in B2B is that companies are going to become a lot better at seasoning the user experience before they actually are ready to make a purchase. So think about LinkedIn ads, think about Facebook ads, but think about them a different way. Market specific pieces of content that fill a pain point, fill a gap in a business or a solution to business. If you market that piece of content, when they actually are ready to make a purchase, they're going to come to you first because you've seasoned them into being prepared to make a decision. So I think, as far as like the word content marketing gets thrown out a lot. So the main thing I would say to take away from this topic is to really figure out how to season a customer into making a purchase. And that means marketing specific pieces of content that solve a pain point.
That's perfect. Steve, and one of the things that, obviously, you're a founder, you're a CEO, you're a comedian, you're a host. I mean, you wear a lot of hats, but one of the things that we've been asking a lot of our guests, especially in 2018, I'm really excited for the opportunity to ask you is, what kind of legacy are you hoping to leave behind at the end of the day, whether that is personal, professional, or even a combination of the two?
So I look at business as you have a positive impact on a lot of people. The sum of all the people around you is greater than the sum of you. I think of that a lot as how do I have a positive impact on my team, and how do I have a positive impact on all the partners that we partner with. It's really it's hard because when you run an agency, you're definitely worried about the P&L, but more or less, I've invested a lot of my time. We have 50 employees now, so I invest a lot of my time on the wellness side of business. I'm really figuring out how do I conquer employee wellness and how do I help our team deal with complex issues on a daily basis. And so the legacy that I really am passionate about and want to leave is a legacy around growth. I care deeply about, the growth of my team and the growth and building leaders into my team. So as my team grows and they take more leadership, they become leaders, and I see that growth, that's very meaningful for me. So I want to build my goal is I want to build an organization, and I want to lead in a way. I want to lead based on, the example that I set, and have a set of core values that I really care about. And that's kind of the legacy I want to leave. I want to grow leaders. In as many words, that's what I want. I want leaders, and I want to instill confidence in people. I want people to come into my organization and really feel 3, 4, 5 months later they have confidence in their abilities to not only execute on their business goals, but also their life goals. And that's what's really important to me.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I love that. Growing leaders, instilling confidence. Certainly a fantastic legacy to leave behind. So that was a great answer. This has been some great content about Facebook paid ads, about how to sell an experience, about how to season a potential buyer. Steve, if anyone in our audience is interested in connecting with you, they want to find out more about today's topic, they want to find out more about MuteSix, they want to find out more about the Spend 10K a Day podcast. I mean, I'm very curious myself. What's the best way for them to go about doing that?
So you guys, there's 2 ways of actually engaging with me, my team. Number one, you could reach out to me directly, Steve@MuteSix.com, MuteSix.com, Steve@MuteSix. And then number two, you can listen to our podcast. Our podcast talks a lot about more business level problems on Facebook and how to leverage different areas of paid media to grow your business. It's taking a lot of the knowledge base that we've generated over the last 4.5, 5 years. But really our goal is to share that with the masses. It doesn't always make sense to hire an agency. I know navigating the world of digital marketing and a lot of people are giving you advice. I know it's a very complex world, and our goal with this is to kind of give back, take a lot of the intel that we learn and kind of share it with the masses. So that's the Spend 10K a Day podcast in the App Store. We're also on Spotify. Feel free to listen, share your comments, suggestions. Really appreciate all the listeners that take the time out to listen to us.
Well, that's wonderful, Steve. Yep, I'm looking forward to checking it out. Again, any of our listeners, the Spend 10K a Day podcast. We've been talking with Steve Weiss. Steve, thank you again so much. It really was a pleasure having you on the show.
Yep, thank you so much. Have a great day.
There are lots of ways to build a community, and we've chosen to build the B2B growth community through this podcast. But because of the way podcasts work, it's really hard to engage with our listeners. And without engagement, it's tough to build a great community. So here's what we've decided to do. We're organizing small dinners across the country with our listeners and guests. No sales pitches, no agenda, just great conversations with like-minded people. We'll talk business, we'll talk family, we'll talk goals and dreams. We'll build friendships. So if you'd like to be a part of a B2B growth dinner in a city near you, go to b2bgrowthdinners.com. That's b2bgrowthdinners.com. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.